Hi, boys and girls. This is Miss Christie, and this is Homelink 5-9, Student Growth. We are going to be making a line plot. Mrs. Welch surveyed her students about how much they had grown over the past year. This is the data she gathered. Plot the data set on the line plot. So here's the student growth over the past year to the nearest half inch. Half inch. So that tells us that they give us this line and they give us these little marks. So remember when we made our graph today, our smallest point was going to be the first line, the first number. So what's our smallest number? So we're looking over here and we're finding our smallest number. So that's 1. So that's going to be 1. And our largest number is, looks like 3.5. So we're going to make this one our whole number closest or just past the largest number, which is going to be 4. And then we're going to count by halves. So this is 1. This will be 1.5. This is 2. That's going to be 2.5. This is 3. And this is going to be 3.5. And that's 4. All right. So hopefully you understand why I chose those numbers and where I place them. So let's make a title for our line plot. Well, your title doesn't have to be exactly what I say it should be, but it needs to describe what the data is about. So Mrs. Welch surveyed her students about how much they had grown over the past year. So I'm going to call this Mrs. Welch's student growth. You don't have to call it that. You can call it something else if you want, but it has to have something to do with what this is. So labels. So for this here, so these numbers, we need to say in our label what these numbers are. So we're going to call this student growth in inches, because we need to know that it's inches and not feet or something else. Centimeters, well, I guess it wouldn't be centimeters, would it? All right, so now we're going to plot our points. So we're going to start with 1. So let's look for all the 1s. So we're going to do just like what we did this afternoon, or this morning, excuse me, depending on who's watching this, and if I had you in the morning and the afternoon. So here's 1 here. So there's 1, 2 1s, 3 1s, 4 1s. So I can't see any other ones. So I think there's 4 1s. So I'm going to make 4 X's. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to cross these off because I already counted them. That way, if I've missed one, and as I'm plotting my points and I happen to notice another one, then I'll know that I didn't already use it, because these are the ones that I counted. All right, now let's look for 1.5. How many 1.5s can you find? Well, here's 1. Here's another one. Oh, here's another one here. Here's 2 more. Here's another one. Here's another one. Wow, that's kind of a lot. So let's see, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 for 1.5. So I'm going to make 7 X's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm trying to make them straight, and I'm trying to make them kind of in line with these so it looks neat. I'm crossing them off because I already used them. Okay, let's see how many 2s we can find. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. That's 5 twos. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to cross them off. Okay. 2.5. Oh no, I just noticed something. Huh. Okay, so I just noticed something. Our smallest amount actually wasn't 1. It's actually a half. But that's okay. So what I'm going to do, since I already wrote these lines and I wrote it in pen so that you could see it easily, I am going to make another line right here, and I'm going to call this 1/2. So you can go ahead and do that too. Just make a line here for half, and here's half. So now I'm going to circle the halves. And you know what we say about mistakes? Mistakes are not only welcome, they are expected, and that's how we learn. And Miss Christie makes mistakes too, and that's okay. So how many halves do we have? 1, 2, 3. 3 halves. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's go back up here. 2.5. So how many 2.5s? Oh, look, I found another 2. I'm going to add that 2. Cross that off. Okay, so now to 2.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 2.5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 2.5s. Okay. And the very last thing we have here is 3.5. So I'm just going to make one X here for 3.5. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to answer the questions about our data. Use the completed line plot to answer the questions. What is the greatest number of inches a student grew in a year? Okay, well, we can easily see that the greatest number of inches a student grew in a year, if we look right here at our line plot, it's 3.5 inches. So we're going to say 3.5 inches. And then this asks us, what is the least? Well, we found out that's a 1/2 inch. What is the difference between the greatest and the least number of inches grown? The difference. So remember, boys and girls, when you see the word difference, that means subtract. So our number model with the unknown is 3.5 minus 1/2 equals x. And 3.5 minus 1/2, well, that's not hard for you guys. 3.5 minus 1/2 is 3. 3 inches. Okay? Alrighty, so then at the bottom, you need to circle 3 equivalent fractions in each group. Okay, so, alright, well, so I'm noticing that there's a 1/4, and there's 3/6, 1/8, 2/8, and 3/12. So what do you notice about these fractions? Well, right away I notice that 3/6, well, 3 is half of 6, so that's equivalent to 1/2, and I don't see any other fractions like that. So that one is not, that one I'm just going to cross off because I know that's not one. And I also notice 1/8. 1/8 is a unit fraction, and there's nothing else here that's equivalent to 1/8. So I don't need that one either. And now look, boys and girls, look what I'm left with. 1/4, 2/8, and 3/12. And they are all equivalent fractions. 1/4 times 2/2 equals 2/8, and 1/4 times 3/3 equals 3/12. Okay, let's look over here. So over here we have 3/4, 4/8, 6/8, 5/6, and 9/12. So once again, I notice that there's a fraction that's equivalent to 1/2 because 4 is half of 8. So I'm going to get rid of that one because nothing else is equal to a half. And, well, 5, 6. 6 goes into 12. 6 times 2 is 12. But 5 times 2 is 10. And half of 6 is 3, and you can't get half of 5. So this doesn't fit either. So 3/4, 6/8, and 9/12. 3/4 times 2/2 equals 6/8. 3/4 times 3/3 equals 9/12. Now let's look at this one. 2/3, 1/5, 4/6, 7/12, and 8/12. Well, I'm going to cross off 1/5 right away because there's no tenths. So I don't think that matches any of them. And I'm noticing that 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6 because 2/3 times 2/2 is 4/6. And 2/3 times 4/4 is 8/12. So cross off the 7/12. Number 7, okay, 1/2, 5/10, 4/8, 7/12. So right away I notice that these 3 fractions are all equivalent to 1/2 because the numerator is half of the denominator. And that's it. So hopefully you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you tomorrow.